Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our next in our series of webinars with amazing leadership professionals. Today, I am joined by three rock star superstars in the HR world. Let me start off by introducing Kate Woods. Kate, give us a wave. Hi. Kate is the Director of Human Resources for Element Event Solutions. Now, I'm going to try and get this straight with locations in Hamilton, three in Toronto, two in Vancouver, and one in the beautiful city of Halifax.
Perfect.
So just a small little tiny company. No, not at all. Element is Canada's only event solutions provider with the ability to deliver full service solutions across tenting, party rentals, furniture, drape, and decor from coast to coast. And actually, Kate's joining us from BC today, so good for her. Kate manages a cross-country team and is working to bring together the cultures of not only different parts of the country, but also cultures of multiply acquired companies, which is pretty easy task, right, Kate? No.
Yeah,
The answer is no.
overnight.
Welcome, Kate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Angela Hudson. She's the Human Resource Manager for Miller's Auto Recycling. Miller's is one of Ontario's largest state-of-the-art family-owned and operated automotive recycling facilities located on 45 acres in Fort Erie. Matter of fact, Angela, you guys are a third generation business now, right? Angela manages a team of four across two different departments while also leading the Health and Safety Committee and being a critical member of the senior leadership team. She's also been a key driver of the commitment to strong culture and accountability at Miller's. Glad you're here, Ange. And Katie Meyer. Katie is the manager of human resources for Haldimand County. Katie and her team navigate both a unionized and non-unionized environment with a large geographic area consisting of 5 population centers. Katie is a passionate driver of team culture, accountability, and personal growth. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
I can say about all three of you, you are all champions of developing and training leaders on an ongoing basis. So thank you all for that. Okay, so let's get into our first question, and we'll start with Katie Meyer. Let's start with you.
That's good.
Katie, when you look at the leaders today in your organization, which you have all different levels, you have SLT, the senior leadership
Mhm.
level, then we have sort of a mid-level, and then we have like a supervisory level, and then I think we even have a fourth level, like acting foreman level. So,
Absolutely. It's more of those unionized leadership roles at that fourth level.
right. So right now, what kind of challenges are you hearing from them about being leaders that they're facing with their employees?
Yeah. I think there's three kind of key challenges that we are consistently sort of hearing within all the different groups. And I think they all go hand in hand at the same time. So I would say sort of balancing the demands of the hybrid workforce. Although we've been doing that for a few years now, I must say we haven't fully mastered how to do that sort of effectively. Second one I'd say is adapting to that multi-generational workplace. We're finding there's a lot of just different ways of work between different values between those multi-generations, and that's impacting, again, that hybrid side. And then with those two things in place is that sort of the challenge of communication. So that clear and consistent communication. So, we have some staff working from home, we have some staff working in the field. How do we ensure sort of that same level of communication reaches all of them when we're not in the same place at the same time? So there's definitely been a few more challenges present with that. And people certainly are having to learn to be a little bit more adaptable in their approaches to deal with those challenges.
And I would imagine attached to that is how people view each generation, and some are really comfortable with the hybrid, certain
Mhm.
generations, and certain generations are not. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. So that's almost a daily thing that we seem to run into, right? We have some generations that are saying, I really value that coming into the office, that face-to-face communication, where we have, some of our younger generations that are saying, I've got, two working parents, kids in a million sports, and that flexibility that the hybrid work option allows is what makes them choose an organization. So it's really trying to find that balance between the two.
So it's a big part of recruitment too.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So, Miss Woods, what challenges are you finding with your leaders? Because you not only have levels, but you also have geography. What are you
Yeah.
finding?
Yeah. A big one for us, and more so just this last few years, has been managing change. So we went from 9 different divisions down to one. So we rebranded our name, our uniforms, our brand behaviors, our vision, and comes with that obviously has been tough. So our leaders are it's just every month there's something else. Okay, now we're moving here, we're doing this. So it's really important that communication is really strong against, and we can't meet in all one area. We've got BC to East Coast, right? So making sure that we have a very clear communication plan is really important. And then I have to agree with Katie as well, managing the diverse and multi-generational workforce. Like that's something where we definitely see daily and something that we have to kind of stay on top of and work through. And it's something that, being in the industry for 20 years, not something that we dealt with, 15 years ago. So those are probably the two stronger ones.
Excellent. So, Angela, in your team, Miller's has had a lot of changes over the last few years, where you've added a team lead level to your group, as well as you've brought in some outside management, probably for the first time in years in the last few years. What kind of challenges are you finding with your leadership team right now?
I think our biggest challenges is collaboration. We have different departments in different areas throughout the organization, and bring them together as united as to work all towards that common goal, which I find they're still isolating themselves into their department and they're not pouring on the support towards the common goal. So I think that that is one of our biggest challenges. So if someone makes a mistake, it's not about helping it, it's like the finger pointing kind of game,
Okay.
um, that sort of thing. And the other thing is too, which is critical, with collaboration, is knowing when to ask for help. And a lot of leaders want to take full, um, accountability for what they're doing and want to be successful in it. And some leaders feel that if they ask for help, it's admitting to failure, or they don't have the capacity or the skill set to complete the task that's required. So getting beyond that fear of failure, it's not failure. You're failing if you don't execute. And sometimes we all have to tap into resources and peers and support persons to help us, execute what our expectations are. So I think that is, some of the things we really need to work on, and collaborating and working together to reach that goal that we're all working towards, and not make it an individual thing.
That's excellent. The asking for help, that's probably attached to generations as well, right?
Yes.
Um, so right now, and Ange, we'll stay with you on this question. When you look at your leaders right now, um, what specific things do you want them to do for themselves to improve as leaders? What are you hoping they'll bring to the table that you don't have to direct them on?
I think what we need is, we all have to have some level of comfortability of being vulnerable. And I think once you can get past that, then you're able to have what is very important in leadership is some form of transparency. And when you have transparency, that fosters trust and employee engagement. And, that is half of the battle right there, to, collaboration, communications, and that sort of thing. The other thing is too, is, ensuring their teams align with our visions and our company goals, whether it's daily, weekly, annually. And that is like communication, right? So I think that we can get better in communicating to our employees what that is, so they know exactly what it is they're working towards. Because if they know what they're working towards, then you're going to have better results. They're going to be more bought into what their task they're performing and feel good about what they're contributing.
Yeah. So along that lines, and values and vision is something new to Miller's over the last couple of years we've been working on.
Mhm.
So yeah, getting people to not only understand what it means, but to live it.
Exactly.
So Kate, you mentioned that you took 9 different divisions and turned them into one. So that's easy. And then so let's stay along the line of aligning with that vision, because you guys now have a new name and a new focus. So What's been involved with that as far as your leaders participating in that?
Yeah. So obviously clear communication and transparency. So as we go through these changes, it's so important that we communicate with our staff. So this is including, our senior leadership team, all levels of the organization. We actually had brand training for all of our staff, which was really interesting. So we created a brand training and all the questions that some of our floor staff would ask that they don't have emails. So they're not seeing the communication come through on the email chain. So our CEO participated in most of them and flew around the country and met with our staff, explained how everything's going to work, all the questions right down to how are the trucks going to be branded? Like these are a lot of our employees are long-term staff and they have a passion and they have a love. So losing that, original name that they worked for 25 years was a little hard, but exciting to see the new trucks and all of the new branding and what it looks like. But kind of going back to one of your questions, like emotional resilience is super important for us. So obviously many of our teams face stress, burnout, uncertainty, and that's in the work life and at home too. So we really need leaders to maintain composure in difficult situations, provide stability to their teams, again, and specifically for us as we go through this change.
Yeah,
Um,
I totally agree with that, Kate. That is one thing that, we can't have like wear our emotions on our sleeves in high stress situation because it pours onto the teams and then it creates a panic. And if my manager, my leader is your team lead is not confident and stressed out about it, like automatically it's going to bring panic onto the team. I totally agree with that.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Great points. So, Kate, along that lines, though, I remember early on with the Regal team, which is in the Hamilton area, there was some us versus them conversations, right? Hey,
Yeah.
that's ABC company in Toronto, or that's XYZ in Halifax. How have you been able to overcome some of that us versus them uh, mentality with your leaders?
Yeah, and just to kind of bring everyone on the same page, a lot of the companies that were acquired were direct competitors, and now they're working in one office together. So specifically with the tent division, we had Regal and then Advanced Tent out of Toronto. The leader was Michelle McCullough, who was the past owner of Regal Tent. And she very quickly knew we instantly have to bring this team together. So, having the Toronto team drive to Hamilton, having in-person sessions, getting to know each other, that whole hybrid versus in-person was so important as we worked through this. And then the same for our GTA locations was bringing, having different employees work at different offices. So yes, they were mostly in our North York. Well, let's come to our Leaside location and kind of get to know everyone that way. So getting everyone back into the workplace, off the hybrid, a little more in person, really helped connect the teams together.
Take away some of that fear, right? Because some of
Yeah,
the
and
fear is
realizing
built up.
we all go through the same things. Like we're all bidding on the same jobs. We all have the same stresses, and let's do this together and think how much better we can be. And that's when they really started noticing, wow, we're a force to be reckoned with here. Like we've got like two great teams and really good skilled laborers, really good sales team. Like let's merge these together. We can be a powerhouse.
Excellent. So, Katie, along the same lines, you definitely have silos at Haldimand County where different departments, which is purposeful to a point. Like we don't want accounting going to fill a pothole in a road, or maybe we do, I don't know. But you also have the union, non-union. So talk to me about some of the silos and the effects that leaders are having or to deal with some of those situations.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely we have a lot of different work sites. And then so we kind of get a little bit of that, them versus us mentality as well too. So as you know, we moved into, a beautiful new facility and brought together some of those silos. So gonna give sort of a two-part answer here. So one was really now that we came together, we had to build a new culture in this building now that everybody was together and figure out how are we going to break down those silos, right? And then part two was with a lot of our other facilities, staff still being outside, it was looked at as, this group got this beautiful new area to work, and now all the communication stays there. How are we going to outreach to those groups? So one thing that we did, and we try to consciously do with our, leaders or indirect leaders, is make sure we go out to those sites or invite them to our site as well too. So kind of like Kate was sharing, is breaking down that hybrid piece and developing those relationships, right? So we do a lot of things like road shows, right? Kind of break it down to their level so it's meaningful to them, it's connected to them, and that they feel like they're valued, right? You didn't just send an email to us that we didn't read. You came out and you actually gave us the messaging.
That's excellent. So when Katie, we'll stay with you. So part of your role, all three of you, is recruiting, bringing new people on board. Let's talk specifically about either promoting a leader, so someone that's in your current team and you want to promote them up, or finding an outside person to join a leadership group. What kind of qualities are you looking for?
Yeah. So one thing that we've it's a bit new to us, but that we've been working on, is we developed sort of some core competencies that we felt were really valuable for leaders. So I think one of the biggest ones that we kind of honed in on, or I guess the two, was sort of that adaptability and that empathy piece. A lot of the biggest challenges that we've ran into with our leaders is they were unable to sort of connect with staff, right? They were unable to build those relationships, have that trust, respect, to be able to successfully lead them. So from a recruitment side, those skill sets are really something that we try to focus on looking for.
Do you find empathy is hard to find?
It is, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people have it, but I don't think those people always see themselves as leaders. Sometimes as well too, right? So we'll see a lot of people coming in looking for a leadership role, and they're, to the point of what they're looking for, right? And really trying to find somebody who's going to stop, take a minute to connect with the staff is, some people see that undervalued, and to us, that's one of the biggest things. We can teach you the technical side. We can't teach you to be a good person.
Yeah, exactly.
That's our famous words we use.
True. It's like Disney's motto is we hire people that like people, right? You can't teach people to like people. So.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about the same type of question around your team. And one of the things we've had discussions about, I know over the years, is boss versus leader and the difference between that. So when you're looking, you guys have brought in some new leaders, you've promoted some people. How have you helped people understand the difference between being a boss and being a leader?
I think the biggest difference is, and that common saying, good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Because it's very important for, our team leads to have that really good rapport with their staff. And when you play bad cop, sometimes that can, it can fracture relationships amongst the team. And it's very critical because a lot of team members or team leaders are the ones that are, delegating work, and you don't want any resistance into that. So, it's very important for, team leads to, have that rapport with their staff so that they don't even feel like they're just doing it for the company. They're also helping and supporting their team lead to execute their expectations. So I think that is a very critical, it's very important to have those, idealistic relationships with your staff, to, have good performance, and not even just that, morale amongst the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at Miller's, one of the purposeful things you guys did is, like Angela was saying, is team leaders are in a helping role, managers are in a managing role. So it doesn't put them in awkward positions, because a lot of times team leaders are new to leadership. If you put too much of a heavy burden on them, it can make people sour on it. So Kate, when along the same lines with what you're looking for in your leaders, have you seen that change over the years, that you're looking for different skills than you were, or is it kind of, no, I still have the same core things I'm looking for?
No, we've seen a change, and I'm going to be really honest. It may have been since we brought Larry Anderson in.
Oh, really?
So Larry was actually, and you know this, Larry, you were a big part of when we started harmonizing the the two tent teams together.
Oh.
You started coaching both teams, and a lot of it was coaching and mentoring our leaders to work together. So I think, you know, a big part is investing in coaches like Larry and anyone else. And I think it's really important that you find someone that fits your team. So not, you know, looking at the first consultant that comes in your email or something like that, finding someone that's personable, that can really sit down and get to know the team. Larry very quickly understood our business very well, very quickly was able to identify, you know, the team members that would need a little bit more time together or collaborating together, and made great suggestions. So I think it's really important that you invest and you find coaches, mentors,
Mhm.
you know, someone that can really make a difference with your team.
Along that line, Kate, not even, yes, thank you for the plug. I appreciate that, but also internal coaches, right? Like it's really important to have people that have great skills mentor those people they're working with, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And like I said before, we have a lot of long-term employees that may have worked for small businesses. Most of them are small to medium-sized businesses that we acquired. So now we're moving to, you know, a larger corporation and what that looks like. So our leadership team does mentoring with our, you know, one-to-one with, you know, their employees that report directly into them. That's really important to get them to understand it. And again, understand the collaboration, I know this happens at your site, but that exact same situation is happening in BC. Let's connect the two ops managers. They can discuss it and share what worked, what didn't work. So that's something that we're really working on for 2025, is that national collaboration between the different divisions, because a lot of them have the same job, the same issues, the same problems, and let's work together to see, you know, what worked and what doesn't.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you guys have a common name now.
Yes.
I remember years ago we were chatting with your team, and it's like, well, you have the same logo on your shirt, and then once one of the acquisitions said, well, now we don't have the same logo, so it was like, okay, hold on a minute. Now,
Yeah, and they all wear the same uniform. So, you know, back 2 years ago, Regal and ATR, the tent division, which is one team, was wearing two different uniforms. Now they have one uniform. They're a team. It really did bring morale up significantly.
100%. So let's continue along that, and let's move over to culture. So, Kate, we'll stay with you. Um, what do you think is one of the biggest factors that is helping you make your culture cohesive with all these different things going on? What's the one thing you think, wow, this is really working for us right now?
Mhm. So I think open communication is really important. We also, so we do a, you know, a yearly employee survey, and I know some companies will do it and they just take the answers, put them to the side, or the results. We'll look at it later. We've actually digested, we dove right in, we picked out what are the top issues. We had each leadership team work with their division to determine what are the areas that we need to focus on. We executed and delivered on some of those key projects within 6 months. So we heard about it, we communicated it, and we executed. So that was super important for our staff to know. First off, we take what you say in our surveys very seriously, and we want to make sure that you enjoy work. You know, you spend all your time at work. We want to make sure everyone enjoys what they do. So, you know, we opened up, we created recognition programs, appreciation programs. And again, just to recognize our staff, and the boost in morale with that was significant. So, yeah.
Yeah, recognition, everybody remembers Maslow's hierarchy of needs from university or college or whatever. But that's, people want to be recognized for their effort and they want to be appreciated. And so many managers or leaders don't realize that that goes farther usually than that raise. Now, okay, everybody selects a raise, but it still can sometimes go farther, that they feel like they're appreciated and needed. Katie, let's stay with culture. How do you find that making everybody understand what culture is and want to be part of it? How are you helping with that with your team?
Yeah. So one thing that we've just more recently done is we sort of decided for building the culture of the organization, it was important to sort of adopt a philosophy and what we saw the culture to be. So we adopted something called the Net Better Off model, which is more of a sort of holistic approach at employee culture, right? So it looks at things like their emotional and mental health, right? Their physical, their purposeful, are they employable, their financial well-being. So it looks at sort of a wheel that we've adopted and something that we assess all of our programs and culture sort of against when there's areas that we find staff are struggling with. So I'll go to the financial one because that was an easy one, right? Hard times after COVID, inflation's gone up. Financial seemed to be a big driver, and a lot of what was driving sort of our culture. So something we did is we did a compensation review, right? To sort of look at that financial piece. Now we've sort of got through that and we're recognizing, the mental health component and that emotional well-being is something that some of our staff are, struggling with, and we need to put more of a focus on that right now. So really trying to build our wellness programs and teamwork there. So we constantly go back to this model and this philosophy and really assess our culture against it so that we can live and breathe it and recognize that staff are always in the workplace, right? So it's important that while they're here, they feel valued.
So how did you introduce something like that?
So we started it out with, we took it to council to sort of have that adopted, sort of overarching to ensure that everybody buys into it from the senior level. But what we did is we do a recognition event corporately near the holidays. So we have all the staff come together. We have a sort of a recognition awards assembly. We do a nice Christmas dinner for everybody. And we did sort of a big presentation that day. To sort of showcase what the model's about. And then we used it as an opportunity to get staff feedback. So we did a survey at that point to say, from your perspective, what are we doing well and what are we not doing well in, right? I can sit from my office here and think that we're doing a great job in a certain aspect of it, but is that truly what's felt across the organization? So it was a good opportunity to hear from staff, where are we at and what are you looking for?
That's great. That's a great tool. And around culture, one of the biggest factors in culture is values, what we believe in as an organization. Again, Miller's has been working hard on that the last couple years. Talk to us about how you feel Miller's culture is evolving and how those values are being a big part of it.
Yeah, so we have been really working hard to try and pour that out into, the organization, but we have to start with leadership and, getting them bought in, living it. So then it pours off into their teams and their, team leads and then team leads onto the employees. So that's kind of where we're kind of going with it. We've definitely, have climbed some mountains with it, but I still do feel we got some work to do. I think, when it comes to maintaining a good working culture, it's daily maintenance. It's like a relationship. You're daily gonna be, putting energies into it to make it work. I think one of the most important things for our organization, which we lacked previously, is, validating your employees. Everybody is entitled to feel what they feel. There's no right or wrong to feelings, but it's how we support them in their feelings, whether it's creating understanding or communicating something they maybe didn't understand and now they get it. Now they may not feel that way, or they may not understand why we change a process and procedures. They just look at it as more work on me. But once they understand and that sort of thing, it kind of elevates, their morale with the task with them, pours onto their team. So I think, validating our employees more, and, if they do bring up a concern, it's not going through deaf ears, follow up with the employee, I've addressed this. This is what, the result is, why we can or cannot do something, or what changes we're going to make to, we want our employees to feel like their voices are heard because we want them to speak to us so we can make the appropriate changes in the organization to meet our organizational needs. They're the ones out in the field or, doing the job, and we're not doing it. So we don't know what barriers or challenges they have. So if they don't communicate it, it's just going to evolve in a poor working culture because everyone's going to be miserable. So I really think, validating your employees, taking action, follow up with employees, and creating understanding and self-awareness around the situation goes a very, very long way.
And it sounds like you're also talking about taking away that fear of HR, where we used to get called into HR, or at least when I got called into HR, it was always a problem. But I'm unemployable now, so that's why I work for myself. Well,
Yeah, and
that's
one
a
of
great
the other
point,
things,
Ange.
yeah, and one of the other things too, that I just kind of want to mention, communication definitely, impacts your working culture. And I think, as leaders, and I think this is what a lot of leaders need, some self-awareness around over communicating creates panic and confusion. And so kind of knowing what to say, what not to say, when to say it, and how to execute that is very critical as well.
Absolutely. I know one of the tools uh, you've instilled in your weekly meetings is something called cascading communication. So after the meeting of the senior team, who needs to know what, and so that we're all on the same page. That's really important. Let's shift over to specific tools or ideas that you guys are implementing within your organization to develop your leaders. So is there any training or technology or systems that you guys are putting in place right now that is helping to develop your new leaders so that they're learning skills, but also people that have been in roles for a while, maybe refreshing them or getting them excited? Miss Woods, let's start with you.
Thank you. And I like my thought again is investing and investing in training that makes sense. So a lot of it is take your time in finding the right provider. So don't go to the first one that comes in your inbox, someone that matches the learning style of the leader that you're looking to train. Or the style of the leader. So how they choose to learn. Is it hybrid or is it, hey Larry, I need you in the office. These need to be one-to-ones, not virtual, or however it is. And then following up on the training after the training's being done, I think is also super important. I feel like
Yes.
I'm kind of jumping around here to some of the other questions that I know we're going to talk about, but I do think that it's super important that when we invest, and if it's in a coach or a training, that's really specific. We look for more specific industry training as well, which isn't really, the event industry. So it's there may not be as much out there in specific leadership training within there, but so a lot of the information or just like the sharing between other industries or other coaches is very helpful.
So when you say follow up after the training or the learning's done, give us an example of what you're talking about there. Like, is it like a form of one-on-one with that person, or is it sharing the learning with others?
Yeah, so I think what I've learned in my past is you can invest a lot of money into a training program and you get your binder and, oh, I've completed, I got my certificate, and then the manager walks away. And this person sitting here has his binder ready to go and no one's following up. Are they going to open up that binder again? Probably not. Are they utilizing anything? So it's then following up with that person and having a training program that has a check-in monthly, bi-monthly, maybe even weekly, depending on who the person is and if they need those check-ins. Because the last thing you want is your investment to just go away because you haven't done the follow-up on it. They have this amazing training, you put the investment in, but their binder sitting in the bookshelf and they've got their certificate on the wall. Well, are they actually practicing anything that they learned? Probably not if you're not following up with them. So either yourself as the leader follows up or you bring back the trainer and you do check-ins.
That's excellent. Katie, what kind of tools are you guys utilizing with your leaders?
Yeah, so sort of similar to what Kate was saying there is we have a variety of different tools that we do use. So we do place a value sort of on making sure that we sort of customize that learning style to the type of learner that's there too. So we sort of start with having leadership training for those emerging leaders, right? Those up and coming ones to make sure that they're equipped all the way up into our senior management team, right? Making sure that we have that sort of executive leadership level training too. So we basically have what we call 5 leadership streams. So it's everything from, like I was saying, that emerging leader to whether it's self-directed learning, whether it's in-person learning. We do have Larry come in to do a cohort every year with regards to our leaders, which we've had a lot of great success with, especially with the style of, learn, practice, and reflect. That's been huge for actually ensuring that what they're learning, they're applying it, they're utilizing it. As well as we have just sort of some virtual learning and mentorship programs that staff do. So we've been really successful in being able to make sure that the person goes into the right training course so that they get the most out of that course. Another thing that that sort of circling back to our net better off model that we do, one of the factors is employable. So we found it really important to make sure that we're offering this leadership training or just development in our employees and investing in them throughout the year. So we do also have a catalog, basically that gives a variety of different training courses that is leadership skills. So it's a lot more of our soft skills that we're focusing on. So we find it really important to ensure that we're investing in all of our staff, not just those that have the title manager or supervisor, making sure that we equipped all levels of the organization with those skill sets to make sure that they're successful.
That's awesome. Thank you, Katie.
I have a question. Do you mind if I ask just Katie one of the questions coming off that? With your catalog, Katie, what type of training do you like? Is it like an online training or is it training that's already developed that's an internal training for your team?
So it's everything. So we have, so HR will come and do a session on how to effectively recruit the right employee, right?
Yeah.
So we have things like that we host as a lunch and learn, but then we also have things like we just recently did a full 1-day training on customer service, right? How to provide good customer service, brought in an external consultant. So we provide it in different formats, different courses, and every month we ensure there's a new course that staff can sign up and attend.
I love that. What a great idea.
Isn't it? Great stuff. Angela, how about you? What kind of tools are you guys utilizing to give your leaders some new skills?
Well, first and most importantly, we brought in a consultant as well, Larry Anderson. He's been with us for
I've
quite a
paid them
few
all to
years
say
now.
this, by the way.
Which has really helped us, reach some pretty important milestones when it comes to that development and leadership and execution. Larry has brought to the table a lot of different resources and tools that we can tap into to build structure amongst our team that allows for accountability and execution and that sort of thing. One of the most important things is the one-on-one mentorships meetings and stuff like that. Larry conducts one-on-one mentorship meetings with our managers, with our team leads, so that's an opportunity to be transparent and really share your problems. And Larry has given some pretty good mentorship and to working around some of the challenges they may have been facing in their roles, as well as team meetings, so learning to work with good collaboration, and that's with all team leads from all departments. So that's where we're starting off to further improve our collaboration amongst our departments. And most importantly, our EOS system that we put in place for our management meetings and helping us to ensure that we're getting momentum and execution of the tasks that we're putting in play to reach our targets and goals, whether it's weekly, daily, annually, and having accountability to that as well. So those have been very critical in our organization moving forward to reach those goals, which I can say we are well underway. So I'm very proud of that. But the other thing is too, employee development plans.
Yeah.
So this is something that we're newly incorporating this year, going out to all employees, because there are employees that have skills out there that we're unaware of. Resumes may outline certain things for a job that they're applying for, but we may not know. They might have welding, certificates or other things that may have value within the organization that they might have interest in. So investing, in our employees, for succession, that helps with planning for succession and also employee retention. So we want our employees to be happy and feel the growth that they may be interested in, or they might just be happy in the roles they're in, but we need to know so we know how to move forward with that. So those are the two major things that we've kind of implemented in the organization. We also have other external industry specific kind of consulting with like Rainwater. He works very closely with our sales team, developing those sales skills, customer service skills, and so forth. So we've definitely brought in, some tools and resources to help elevate, the leadership skills in our organization.
Yeah, I think your sales manager is part of a network of other sales managers too, where they get that learning from each other, right? Virtual. That's excellent as well.
Absolutely.
So two more questions for the gang here. One is that I didn't give you one to prepare up for, so this is the wild card question. Talk to me about what you're doing to help leaders that are maybe stale or too set in their ways, and they're not willing to look at changing or adjusting. So I'm going to ask if anybody wants to take this question before I just pick someone. Does anybody want to jump in?
Well, I think, I think I have some areas to speak on here. As organizations grow, not all leaders grow with the company. And, some people may not have the skills or capacity or the willingness or want to grow in that direction. And we have to respect that. So that's where we need to narrow in the right person in the right seat and make those necessary changes, to meet the best interest of the company and the goals that we're trying to reach. So, that comes into play from time to time for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just going to piggyback on what Angela said there. I absolutely agree with everything she said there. And something that we're trying to look at or even just wrap our heads around right now is when somebody sort of, the organizations continue to grow and they haven't, they're sometimes often ready for that retirement phase or that next chapter of their life. And, they gave a lot of time and effort and energy to the organization and a lot of years of success. So how do you have them sort of leave on that sort of legacy note so that they're not leaving as a disgruntled employee, that they're not leaving on a negative note? So we're really just trying to think on how do we change the way we look at once the organization's outgrown that employee to end it positively.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I think that's, good for, we could put, leadership development plans, tapping in with those one-on-ones and those kind of questions to see where they want to go in the company, what they would be most happy in. And maybe those changes may be made, with ease because
Yeah.
it's what they want. So yeah, absolutely.
Kate, any thoughts on this?
That mirror everything that they're that they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I find sometimes it's never been discussed, and it's always just been left. I have a saying, and I know Angela thinks I'm a broken record with this, but what you tolerate is what you end up with. And I think that sometimes we've let poor leaders or stale leaders or whatever we want to call it linger too long in that, and now we're sort of stuck there. So I think some advice I would give to anybody who's managing leaders is don't let those things fester. Jump on them as soon as you can. So my last question for you guys this morning is, if there's going to be HR professionals listening to this, or people new to HR, or business leaders, business owners listening to this, what is one piece of advice you would want to give someone today about investing in leadership and what they should be looking for, what they should be considering? Angela, let's start with you.
Um, well, for starters, I think it's, very important to identify skill gaps. And, narrow in on them, provide the proper training or mentorship, to correct them before it becomes problematic, try to be preventative rather than proactive. So, that is one of the things. And again, those employee development plans I think can go a long way as long as they're executed correctly. That's just not conducting the interview, writing down the answers. It means having an action plan and having a target date and completion dates and being accountable to that, I think is very critical to, investing in your employees and in, your time and energy and money. And, it can definitely go a long way.
Thank you. Kate.
Yeah, very much the same as Angela, and I'm repeating myself a little bit throughout the morning, but taking your time and finding the right provider. It could also just be LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn has some great online training or what it is, but if you're going to make a big investment, make sure that the investment is what works with the values of your company and the performance of your team. So, and the leadership style as well. So however the training is executed, does it work with the style or the learning style of the leader that you're training? If not, move on to another training. It's an investment, and it's investment in them and their time too. And as we all know, time is precious, Monday through Friday. And if you're going to commit to something, you need to make sure that it's valuable to the trainer or to the employee and to the company. Following up after, and again, like just don't sign up for the first exciting email that comes through your inbox and like just really do your due diligence.
Yeah, excellent. Katie, what about you? What thoughts do you have around that?
Absolutely. I echo both what Kate and Angela did say there. If I was to expand on it a little bit more, investing in continuous learning, it's a journey, right? It's not just taking that one leadership course one time. It's continuing to grow on your skills, your staff skills, and really assessing what are those gaps, having the self-awareness to know what your gaps are, and be able to continue to work towards building them. It's a complex workforce now. It's evolving, different issues every single day. It's not easy anymore. So you need to continue to keep your skills fresh, learn new ideas, meet people, work with the right coaches, and continue to grow.
That's excellent. So thank you guys so much for today. This has been a wonderful discussion. We went longer than I said, but that's because it was so good. I couldn't cut you guys off. So thank you so much to Angela Hudson, Kate Woods, and Katie Meyer. You guys were rock stars, and we'll see you guys soon.
Larry.
Thank you.